Hi guys, and thank you for tuning in to another edition of Discovery with me, Glory. So today I'm going to be talking about prayer. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this topic is because so this year I really okay, guys, so I'm not saying this to be boastful or to seem spiritual. I'm not a pastor, I'm not a priest. So as you guys know, this vlog is about me sharing my discoveries, things I've learned from people, and things I've learned about life myself. And so one of the things I've been learning this year is really about how to pray. And I thought I should share this with you guys because so many times, I think, especially in Nigeria, we've made prayer this convoluted thing. There's now so many rules to prayer, how long you should pray, what you should say, and all of that. And I think it just makes it very difficult for people. So like sometimes people say, oh, you should pray for 1 hour. And then you get there and you're like, oh, what am I going to say? And that's not to say that praying for 1 hour isn't good. Obviously, it's the longer you spend with God, the more time you spend with God, the better. But I think that can feel very intimidating for somebody who is just trying to get to grips with prayer. So I just thought I'd share with you guys 5 ways that I pray, or rather 5 things I've even learned about prayer. And hopefully this will help people who are actually trying to start a life of prayer, or spiritual gymnastic people that are already pros in prayer. But I think the first thing to understand about prayer is that prayer is communicating. So just like how I am communicating with you through my camera, you can pray that way. Like I think many times because we've made prayer this convoluted thing with rules and whatever, we forget that it's just about talking to God. Really, that's what prayer is about. It's not about what you say, how you say what you say. It's God wants to hear from you. So it's just about and you want to hear from God, I assume. So that's just the first thing. In fact, somebody shared this quote with me, I think by Max Lucado, that the power in prayer, the power in prayer is not from the person who prays, but about the person who hears it. So forget about whether you are using the right words, whether you have enough adjectives, whether you are saying, oh, thou, oh Lord, let's get down to the basics. So I think the first thing that now that we know what prayer is about, one of the things I've learned about prayer is about how to pray out loud. And by that, I'm not talking about how in church, sometimes in church, they can say, begin to pray. And then everybody is just, if you are not somebody that, regularly does that, you can feel like, okay, what's going on here? So, and I'm not saying that that's wrong, but then it can seem a bit intimidating. So what I've learned to do now, I've learned how to pray out loud. And, for me, that just happened in January when I was going through a few things. And I was reading about different characters in the Bible and how they would talk to God and how they would complain. So really, my prayer was coming from a place of complaining. And it wasn't just like, oh, God, now. It was more like actually having a conversation with him and just being like, I don't even understand what you're doing. Really, like because I think that's the thing. I think prayer has to come from an honest place. So what I would do was just communicating out loud with God. Like, God, I'm confused. I thought you said, I thought this was what I was meant to be doing. And now I'm doing it. And all of these issues are coming up. Just like he was there. Like he was sitting on my bed, listening to me. Like I was talking out loud. So that's the first thing. And I think that really helped me to come to a very base place of prayer, stripping up all the highfalutin things about prayer and just really talking to him like a friend and like a father. That's the first thing. The second way that I've learned to pray is actually, because maybe this is easier for me because I write, but actually to write psalms. So sometimes, I might not be in the mood to speak, because let's face it, it's not every time that you are in the mood per se. So I write. And it can just be like, hey God, X, Y, this is going on, or I'm upset about this person really annoyed me, or God, I'm really happy about all the things you're doing for me. Like, and it can just be a paragraph, but that is also a way to communicate. So that's one of the ways I pray. Another thing I do is I keep a prayer journal, because I think this year, one of my goals was to have, to grow spiritually. And I decided I was going to keep a prayer journal. No, I decided I was going to pray more. And so I woke up one day and I thought, okay, what am I going to pray about? Okay. So I just thought, okay, look, this can't be happening every time. So what I did was I got a prayer journal and I actually wrote a list. So on Monday, I have specific things I pray for. Tuesday, I have specific things I pray for. Thursday, I have specific things I pray for. I add things and remove things from the list. So it's a prayer journal. So all my prayers for the month of January, February, March, middle of January, one day I'm feeling upset about something, I just write it in my prayer journal. And, some days I just go back and I just read. I'm like, oh my God, God has answered that. I think it's really good because sometimes after a while, when you go back and you see how many prayers God has already answered, even things that you didn't even ask Him for, He has already answered, So for me, having a prayer journal, and I don't know whether that works for me because I write, and so I'm used to journaling anyway. But I think it's definitely something I would recommend to people. So if you feel like every time it's time for you to pray, you actually don't know what to pray about, try having a list of things to pray about for specific days. And also there you can write down, how people say, please pray for me, I'm going through such and such. And when you see them, you say, I'm praying for you. But really you haven't. You can write that in your prayer journal as well. So those are one of the things you're praying for. So you can actually keep track of your friends you're praying for and all of that. So that's how prayer journaling has helped me. Another way I've learned to pray, and I learned this from Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. And it was about, having these prayer bursts. So I actually have a reminder in my phone, which prompts me to pray at a certain time. And, it can be a 5-minute prayer, it can be a 30-minute prayer, it can be a 1-second prayer. It can be like, and I'm going to be honest, guys, sometimes it's literally half a second prayer. It can be like, oh God, please help me. It can be, oh God, I'm so tired. Oh, it can be, but it's about, for me, what that has helped me to do is constantly reminding me and creating the habit of constantly communicating with my maker. And so, yeah, but then, these are my ways of praying. I think also prayer sometimes is also about the individual. So please share with me. And please, I really would really like if people would share in the comment section ways they've learned to pray and how they're praying, so that other people as well can benefit from this. I hope I've been helpful. Feel free to send me an email at gloria@inspiredbyglory.com. If you want to learn more about prayer journaling, we have an article on inspiredbyglory.com which shares with you different ways you can use a prayer journal. Till next week, it will be me, Gloria Dozian. I hope you've enjoyed watching. Thank you. Bye-bye.